Hey guys, this is Awesome John 22 coming at you today with another review. Today we are looking at Transformers Prime Bumblebee, the version of the figure that I have in my collection, which is the New York City Comic-Con 2-pack version, who initially came in a 2-pack with a couple miniatures of the kids from the show, as well as a pink version of RC, and bringing him up close so you can see the details that are exclusive to this figure. I originally picked up this set because I found it for a reasonable price soon after that particular Comic-Con was over, and I really wanted the pink version of RC, but this guy really grew on me, especially the checker pattern stripes. I ended up really liking that, and so I decided to just keep this as the display version of Bumblebee in my collection of Transformers Prime figures, and I'm going to try today to explain to you why, and to explain to you why this figure is actually pretty worthy of a pickup. But first, we're going to get this review started properly by getting this guy transformed up into his vehicle mode through the magic of jump cuts. And here we have Bumblebee transformed up in his vehicle mode, and you can see the really cool checker stripes and the New York taxi design really comes together here. Again, darker yellow, and that actually brings me to my first real point. I just knocked this off the bottom. This is his weapon that we saw on his arm a moment ago. It has weapon storage here. It literally just slots into little tabs on these feet here, but it is just the dumbest weapon storage I've ever seen on a Transformer, and I wholeheartedly mean that, because it not only does it interfere with his rolling, his wheels, his back wheels now barely touch the surface. As you can see, I can slide this piece of paper underneath. I can't do that up here because they're actually touching. Here, there is just enough contact there for the wheels to turn when this paper slides underneath, because it is actually suspended about a millimeter above the surface by this weapon. And this tabletop is fairly soft with room to kind of sink down in. So the fact that that still happens is utterly ridiculous. It means this sticks out way too far. So in this mode, you kind of just have to set it off to the side if you want the mode to function properly. But it does look good. Bringing it closer, you can see a very similar blue clear plastic all throughout the windows and the headlights, kind of like we saw on Generations Bumblebee, which I also have here. You can see very similar color schemes. Though on the camera especially, I don't know if this is going to show up in the video, on the camera especially, this guy looks a lot brighter, which I guess he's a bit brighter in person as well. You can see the size difference there, which reminds me that I didn't really do a size comparison of Generations Bumblebee in his own review, so to remedy that, let's bring in another Bumblebee as well and kind of get a scale going here. You can see this sports car-esque movie design-based Prime Bumblebee is the bigger of the cars, as he rightfully should be, and he looks quite good. I really like it. You can see quite distinctly here on my camera especially that this is painted here, so it is a different color than the actual plastic. This is also painted. I'm not sure, again, I'm not sure how that's going to show up on video, but in person it's actually not too big of a difference. The main problem I have with the painted sections is this really uneven edge work that shows up pretty much all throughout, and that it just really annoys me. But we do have taillights again on this figure like we did on Generations Bumblebee, and great silver rims again like we did on Generations Bumblebee. I think these actually came out about the same time this went in Reveal the Shield Bumblebee. But you can see robot bits definitely underneath, very obvious. Even these are painted, and I don't think I did that myself. Sometimes I'll do that. Sometimes I'll paint the logos. Like you can see, this like pseudo Chevy logo is painted silver, as are the exhausts. Sometimes I will paint those myself, but I really don't think I did on this figure. But that is probably because it was a Comic-Con exclusive set, like I mentioned earlier. But I really do like the figure in this mode, just like I do in robot mode, as I mentioned earlier. It just looks all around very good. And that's pretty much all to say about the vehicle mode, so let's go ahead and get it transformed up and see how that goes. Just like with revealed the Shield Bumblebee yesterday. There are a couple areas of this guy's transformation that hang me up a bit, so I will do my best to get this guy transformed despite them. Where you're going to start, and I'll show you better on this side, is you're going to kind of loosen this up and rotate it to bring these hooks out of these grooves underneath. They attach in there really awkwardly, and that's really the best way I've found to detach them without risking damage. Next we're going to come down here. Actually, we're going to come up here first and split this part. And we're going to come here, bring these out. And that brings these tabs on these bits here out of this hole here. And kind of bring these down and out of the way. And this is where he gets kind of complicated. So what we're going to do is we're going to come down underneath here. And we're going to kind of slot this out like so. There's a lot of hooks and a lot of slots and a lot of unusual methods of connecting parts together on this figure. Didn't really see that. Let me bring my camera up so you can see a little better. We're going to bring this piece down and bring all of this forward, freeing up space for things to happen. So we're going to bring the arms up like so, just kind of bring them out. And bring them forward, and then these come up and they tab into the wheel. And the arms are weird. The arms are a weird part of this figure. They're a bit weirder going from robot to vehicle. Going this way, they're not too bad, but they are unusual. Let's put it that way. Put it as mildly as possible. And I feel like I'm doing something wrong. But I don't know, it doesn't look like I actually am. It's probably just the fact that, like I said, they're a bit odd. Next we're going to come up here, and we're actually going to lower the windshield down, which gives us room to bring this whole section straight up. It gives us clearance to rotate this around, and then rotate this around. Then we're going to bring all of this back down. Does it come up now, or does it come up later? Let's leave this down for now. I'm not 100% sure what it does or when. Next, we're going to come here, and this is the part of the figure that really bothers me, and I'm going to come in close and try to show you. And there have been reviews of this guy that do a better job than I'm doing right now. I can tell you that right now wholeheartedly. And they do a better job of showing this too. But you can see these little gray hooks underneath. If I can even get in there to show you. There you can see, focus, come on. You can see little, like, rounded pegs right there in those grooves. These little hooks are supposed to hook onto those and allow you to kind of angle the torso pieces however you like. And that's all well and good, I guess. But I am always terrified that those little hooks are just going to snap one day. And I know a lot of other people are too, because, oh, bring that in, then bring this up, that's right. Because I know a lot of people prefer not to actually hook them on, but for the purpose of the review, that's what I'm going to do. Next, we're going to take these, we're just going to kind of wedge our fingernails or something in there and bring them apart until they kind of click once, and it's not perfect, but it gives us a little bit of a gap in there between the bumper pieces and the upper parts of the fender. And then we're going to angle everything, bring out the fists, and then come down here, bring the feet forward and bring the legs down, and just kind of angle it like so. You can see back here the back windows do just kind of fold out of the way without you having to really do anything, as you can see. And that's really it. I mean, aside from the chest being kind of troublesome and worrisome, and the arms and shoulders being kind of strange, there really isn't a whole lot to this figure. He's actually kind of simple, and awkward to stand, though. As you can see, I'm having trouble getting him just kind of stand in a correct position, but once you do, he looks pretty good. And he certainly looks quite on model as well. I mentioned earlier that Bumblebee does have a weapon that we already saw during the intro bit, but here it is again, attached to his arm. He does only come with one, whereas in the show, we see him with two, and let's bring this down a bit. It looks good there. It's this little double-barreled laser gun thing. It looks good, but I really would prefer that there were another for the other arm. Not only would it cover up, almost knocked him over, not only would it cover up that extra peg hole there, but it would just help make him more symmetrical altogether. And I'm having a bit of trouble with the heels on this guy. They don't quite want to support him, and I do remember that being a problem when I first picked him up as well. I just kind of forgot about it. But yeah, that's his weapon. It's not anything special, and it certainly doesn't fold out of his arm like it does in the series, but I never really expected it to. And like I said, it does look good. Bringing this in a little bit, we can see some great detail from his very narrow abdominal area up to his chest. All the car details look great there. Fantastic Bumblebee head sculpt. And we do see those black checker stripes and the New York City taxi on the doors. Yellow is cool. Even some really good color addition and some paint in the feet and legs. Overall, just a very good looking figure, at least on par with the first edition figure in its more show accurate colors, which is really why I ended up settling on this figure. To begin with, I mentioned a little bit in the opening that it just kind of grew on me, that I really ended up liking these stripes, and I really ended up liking the darker color, and I mean, and that's really the entire reason why I decided to go with this figure as the display version of the character in my collection. I just don't see a stark enough difference between the design of this version of the figure and the actual retail figure for it to actually matter. Posability is pretty good in this guy. The only issue I have is in the shoulders. They do move in and out at a couple different places, and they do technically have forward and back rotation, but it's at an odd angle, as you can see here. And there's also the issue that pulling on these at all does put extra pressure on those little brittle hooks that I'm worried about a bit. Ball joint at the elbow, some in and out at the wrist, but I don't really count that as it's part of transformation. Nothing at the waist, in and out, and forward and back at the hips, and a proper knee bend, even if the lower part of his legs are much, much larger than the upper parts. And odd proportions aside, ball jointed head as well, before I forget. Weird proportions aside, he's a well-articulated and he's a good-looking figure that's quite screen accurate aside from his slight color differences. And if this were the retail version of the first edition, I would say there's absolutely no reason not to pick it up. In fact, I will go ahead and say right now, if you can find that version of the figure, there's absolutely no reason not to pick it up. It's absolutely amazing. The first edition line for this series, for the most part, was absolutely amazing. And before I forget, don't know if I remember to show that, he does rotate at the thighs. Again, some more size comparisons with other Bumblebees, so you can get kind of a feel for where he fits in scale with everyone. Once again, Hunt for the Decepticons, Battleblade Bumblebee kind of towers over everybody else, and you can see he's a bit taller than the Age of Extinction Bumblebee, so you can kind of see he stands taller than average, but not too tall. And I really like that because he ends up fitting very well in scale with Voyager class Transformers Prime Optimus, which Optimus being the hero of the show, quote unquote, as far as I'm concerned, he should be the basis for the scale of the series. And Bumblebee is definitely one of the characters who really fits well in that scale. I mentioned that I definitely recommend the first edition version of Bumblebee, which shares this figure's mold. But the question that I'm sure is on everyone's minds, and by everyone I mean all two of you, is do I recommend this figure? And actually, yeah, if you can find it for a reasonable price on eBay or on Amazon or something, go ahead and pick it up if you like this design. Like I mentioned, it does come with a couple miniatures of the kids from the show, particularly Bumblebee's little friend, as well as, what was his name? I don't remember any of their names anymore. That's kind of sad. The boys that hung out with Bumblebee and RC, because the set also does come with the pink RC, which I also mentioned I will be getting to eventually. It's a good little set. It's got a good little backdrop for it that I no longer have. I'm not sure what happened to it. But it's a good little set, and I'm really glad I picked it up. And I do recommend it. Just don't go overboard with it. There's no reason to spend more for this than is necessary. I mean, you would be just as well off with the regular first edition version of this character, or even the Revealers version was good. But like I said, if you have the cash and you really like the design like I do, yeah, go ahead. But that's pretty much it for this review. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please like and subscribe and leave a comment down below if you feel so inclined. In the description down below, you'll find links to all the other stuff I'm working on, as well as a link to my collections video. Check out that collections video, and if you see anything in it that you'd like me to review, let me know and I'll see what I can do. This has been Awesome John 22, and I will talk to you guys later.